And if there's anything I can say on this podcast, if someone's listening right now, that I could say, do one thing, it is what I'm going to say next. Once a year, take a week off, no phone, no emails, and do a week of self-work. Once a year, 1 week.
I want to do this. What does self-work look like? Do I take a book and just...
Listen...
But this is, sorry, I'm just doubling down on that terrible interview technique. I haven't done a whole day in 7 years, and people are like, oh, hustle culture. It's not hustle culture. It's just because I started when I was 17, Scooter. I have no idea who I am as a person. And when you go away with no phone and no distractions, you have nothing but yourself. And I'm deeply uncomfortable because you suddenly then stare in the abyss and you're like, fuck.
So you're right. So you're talking to someone who lived your life. I started when I was 18, and I ended up having a tremendous amount of success. And I thought I was someone named Scooter. And I forgot that my name was Scott. And I left that kid behind a long time ago because I was uncomfortable being Scott. And I didn't want to look into the abyss and deal with myself. So building and continuing and getting the praise of achievements allowed me to avoid having to do something which was as simple as doing self-work. And it wasn't until my life got to a place where I was miserable that I was forced to do the self-work, and the transition started. And that's why I say, if there's anything to listen to, I just don't want anyone to get to the place of pain I had to go to start. I'm offering it so you don't have to deal with what I dealt with, because I wouldn't wish the pain that I felt in that moment on anyone. But I had to get to that low moment for me to start going in that direction. And when I say by self-work, for me, the first time I did it was Hoffman. It was the Hoffman Process, no phone, no email, a week of intense self-work.
When that moment hit, did you know that was the catalytic moment?
There was no option. When you hit that level of bottom in a depression, you realize there's do something, and the other option is not an option, right? That's not who I am. I realized, I'm like, that isn't me. That thought that came to my head, way too dark, that isn't me. I'm not going to go in that direction. I have to do something. And it was funny because my friend was like, well, I was like, what do I do? It's the same thing you asked. And he was like, well, start with this place, Hoffman. You should go there. I did it, changed my life. And he put me on the phone with this woman, Liza, and she started talking. She goes, I can get you in 3 weeks. And it was October 24th, 2020. And October 24th, 2020 was the release date of Ariana Grande's album.
Oh, no.
And I thought, this is the biggest album release I have of the year. And I remember being in a parking lot of her music video, hearing that over the phone, hanging up, looking up at the sky, and started hysterically laughing because I realized I was being given a choice. Choose the path that I've been on of success that had me hitting that rock bottom moment, or do something new and different. And I went into Ariana's trailer. I said, I need to do something. I will help set everything up. Everything will be lined up for your release week, but I'm going to be gone and I won't have phone or email. And I'm your manager. And she talked to me about why. And she's like, you were there for me during Manchester. It's time for me to be there for you. And I left. It was the first time I turned my phone off in 20 years. And
were you scared to tell her that? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was at a place where I was just like, it's time. I made that choice. I chose me for the first time of like, I need to do this.
And you weren't fearful that she'd go, what?
I was, but I didn't have a choice. It was choose that path or not. And I went, and I thought my phone would be off for a week. And as you know, my phone stayed off for 2.5 months. And it put me on a very different path. And I'm incredibly grateful. Like, I really am. And I think when you say, what do you do? There are many people around you doing it. You know, you just don't know because you've never asked. So I did this thing at Hoffman. Then I did a thing at Sedona where I studied breathwork. Then I did another meditation retreat the following year. You know, it's that 1 week. I remember when I went in, I was like, what could a week do? But I had never slowed down for a week before. I didn't know what a week could do because I'd never stood in the abyss for a week. And when I did, I was shocked with what 1 week of choosing yourself can do for your well-being. And now I make sure every year I take that week.
What are you doing that week now?
I'm working on something, so if it doesn't happen, I'm going to choose something else. I'm thinking this year of doing a silent retreat, or I'm really intrigued by Wim Hof.
Huh.
And I think I might want to do like Wim Hof for a week.